This is surprising. Let's go back. This is very surprising. This is from CNN, which is, if you're take everything what they say, usually everything is like controlled narrative, or they just pop up something that I don't know. Let's see. This came up on April 29, 2021, from Washington. It says federal agencies are investigating at least two possible incidents on U.S. soil, including one near the White House in November of last year that appeared similar to mysterious invisible attacks that have led to the debilitating systems up for dozens of U.S. personnel, like employees of the government. Multiple sources familiar with the matter tell CNN that the Pentagon and other agencies probing the matter have reached no clear conclusion on what happened. The fact that such attack might have taken place so close to the White House is particularly alarming. Um, well, if the military is surrounded, these military troops, I'm pretty sure that they have these weapons. Defense officials briefed lawmakers on the Senate and House Armed Services committees on the matter earlier this month, including the incident near the White House. That incident, which occurred near the ellipse, the large oval lawn on the south side of the White House, sickened one National Security Council official, according to multiple current and former U.S. officials and sources familiar with the matter. In a separate 2019 episode, a White House official reported a similar attack while walking her dog in a Virginia suburb just outside Washington, JQ reported last year. Those sickened reporters similar symptoms to a CIA and State Department personnel impacted overseas, such as the person who went to Russia, probably who they're talking about, and he got attacked with directed energy weapons. It says those sick and reported similar symptoms to CIA and State Department personnel impacted overseas, and officially quickly began to investigate the incident as a possible Havana syndrome, which was the directed attacks when people tried to meet together in Cuba, and they called it the Havana attack. That name refers to the unexplained symptoms that U.S. personnel in Cuba began experiencing in late 2016. A varying set of complaints that includes ear popping, vertigo, pounding headaches, and nausea. Sometimes it's way worse than that. That's some of them, but it could be worse. You could have brain damage from this. Sometimes accompanied by an unidentified piercing directional noise. Rumors have long swirled around Washington about similar incidents within the United States. There are people who are being attacked by this. It's not just personnel, employees of the government, or everyday people who are getting attacked by this, which is the United Nations is now investigating. They're called direct energy weapons, or direct energy attacks, or energy weapons. They go by many names, but that's usually microwave attacks. They're invisible and they hurt like hell. Um, while the recent episodes around Washington appear similar to the previous apparent attacks affecting diplomats, CIA officers, and other personnel serving in Cuba, Russia, and China, investigators have not determined whether the puzzling incident at home are connected to those who have occurred abroad or who may be behind them. Sources tell CNN that's total bullshit. It's total bullshit. People have been complaining about this for years. And it's shocking to hear that some U.S. personnel around the White House is getting sick, attacked by these things. Uh, they're trying to control the narrative on this directed energy attacks. The Pentagon released something in October 2020 that Russia is using cyberspace to uh, attack people in America or attack their own citizens, which is, they can be handheld also. They're just not in the sky. There's many ways to be used by them. Defense officials who briefed lawmakers said it was possible Russia was behind the attack. Well,
or I tell her, come on, get up. She'll try to stand up.
okay, my bad. Defense officials briefed lawmakers said it was possible that Russia was behind the attacks. If you go back into the 1990s, if you even go before that, if you guys know your guys' history, Russia always had these types of weapons, but these weapons came from Germany, from the Nazi Germany regime. And during that time, we know that human experimentation was a very big thing. And without that, we wouldn't have the type of knowledge that we have now. Non-consent human experimentations, and one of them over the years was directed energy attacks and the effects of it. They did not release it in the public. That is very harmful and dangerous. And what they could do to the human body and to the brain and to the ears when they get attacked by it. It's called I forgot. There's another name to it, but whatever. Russia had this. China had this. America also has these technologies. They've been perfecting them. They've been using it on people. They use it also for war. Really, this type of technology is meant uh, for war. But they always blame America, but always blame some other person, whether Russia and China. China and the WikiLeaks, you will see that Hillary Clinton has sold some part of our space projects to China. If you go on the WikiLeaks, and they basically kind of rent out our stuff to do whatever they want. But they do have these, and they are used against people. Russia was behind the attacks, but they did not have enough information to say for sure. They're trying to control the narrative, what I'm saying, of where these weapons came from.
Right.
But they did not have the information to say for sure. Another foreign U.S. official involved in the investigation at the time said China was also among the suspects. China is very big. China has these. If you go on there, you type in target individual in China. There are some that are have subtitles in English. They talk about this. The only good thing about China is being a TI, being a targeted individual. You get to have what do they call where you block signals? What is it called, Lord? It's called jammers. That's what's being. They have jammers. It's illegally in China to have a jammer. So if they want to block their, these signals, which it takes a jammer, which is insane. I mean, the lower hits, these are probably like high hits, but in America, it is illegal to have a jammer, even to protect yourself. And where was I? Defense officials were all okay. The officials in the investigation of the time said China was also among the suspects. So it's giving you kind of the truth, but it's not stirring you away that the U.S. military, the U.S. employees are actually doing this against their own people. The U.S. has struggled to understand these attacks since 2016 and 17, which they had these technologies since the 50s, 40s. They're not struggling. The CIA has this, they understand this technology, and the technology they have will blow your mind. When diplomatic and intelligence personnel in Cuba first began reporting alarm systems that seemed to be appeared out of the blue. They could F with your alarm systems, they could F with the Bluetooth in your car, in your house, any type of technology. They could manipulate it, they could turn your system down. It's crazy. Intelligence and defense officials have been reluctant to speak publicly about the strange incidents, and some who were impacted have complained publicly that the CIA did not take matters seriously enough, at least initially. People who've been going through this for years, who did work for the government or just regular citizens, they will try to get help, never took it seriously. And it's not all of the people who work in governments who know about this. This is compartmentalized. That means there are certain people in a group, in a home, in a job. After if there's 10 employees, only 2 employees will know what's going on, and they have to sign a letter that they have to sign a letter that whatever you know, you cannot share it with people. Um, and if they do, they go to jail or die or whatever. The attacks eventually led to a dramatic drawdown of staff at the outpost in Havana under the Trump administration, which will not shock me since they said that um, whatchamacallit, Donald Trump was actually being spied on microwaves, which sounds really silly, but microwaves is an excellent way of spying on people, where in their house, what's in their house, and other crazy things. Personnel in Russia and China reported similar unexplained incidents. But Russia, I don't think Chinese people don't understand. It's actually directed energy attacks is not a mystery, especially in Japan. These things are not a mystery in their country. They actually know about the target individual program more than Americans do here in America. Russia, I don't believe Russia. Maybe they don't. Uh, I know they suppress more uh, of their information to their people, but China is doing like human trafficking 2.0, unexplained incidents. Though there's no consensus as to what causes the symptoms, one State Department sponsored study found they likely were the result of microwave energy attacks. It's just a very hard. It's like a physics kind of deal. A bureaucratic power play. Another mystery surrounding Havana. It's not a mystery. They know this shit. But CNN, they gotta control the narrative. But it's coming out so much that now there's every month or so they're making a new article about it. Another mystery surrounding Havana syndrome is that the U.S. government is confronting the problem. Really. They're going to continue to be doing this, but they're confronting the problem. Okay. Among those investigating a mysterious pattern of possible attacks are the CIA, which they're 100% who are controlling these attacks, for all I know. The State Department and the Defense Department. Well, there are people who are, their internet is actually connected to the Department of Defense, and it's not just handheld weapons. It's actually cyber weapon space weapons. They're actually real weapons. They're satellites that do beam down on people and they burn them or whatever way that they have, because they could do this multiple ways. Near the end of the Trump administration, the Pentagon sought to take the lead out of perceived frustration, and other agencies were not doing enough to address the issue. I do believe that, because these attacks, this type of technology, it's nothing new. If your grandfather, grandmother, or somebody who was in the 50s and 40s that worked in the military, yet, they can't talk about things like that, or if you it's not new technology. They probably perfected it, made it stronger, made it more accurate. The agencies, your Department of State, CIA, NSA, FBI, they have suppressed this so much. You make it believe they have no clue which these are the people who have these weapons. And that's why they're not doing enough to address the issue, just like it says in the article. I knew CIA and Department of State were not taking this SHIT, which is very shocking, seriously, and we wanted to shame them into by establishing our task force. They should have done this years ago. They just got all the data from 40, 60 years of torturing people with these things. Um, Now that they're doing their own task force for personal uh, employees of the government. You know, not being attacked by everyday people, but just personal people of the government. Who was acting defense secretary at the time told CNN last week. They're not gonna, they totally control the narrative of these weapons. Pentagon leaders set up the task force to track reports of symptoms hitting Defense Department personnel overseas, which they're gonna be. These are war weapons. You understand? It's supposed to be for people who are going to war that will fight, uh, who are going overseas in different countries, because they have these weapons all over since the Nazis. Um, what was that? Okay, let's see. What was that? An effort that Miller said was intended in part as a bureaucratic power play to force CIA and state to take the problem more seriously in their own personnel, even with their own people who are CIA and other serious like officers working for them. That's pretty surprising. Um, some of this could be a psyop to control the narrative. This is CNN after all, but not even to help their own, not even to help their own people. Which is, I don't understand. How do you work for the CIA and not know these weapons? Miller said he began to see reports of these mysterious symptoms as a higher priority in December, which I don't know if he's talking about in 2019, 20, or 21, after interviewing an alleged victim with extensive combat experience. A combat man will know exactly what the hell is going on. It don't make sense. If he's been in different countries, this can't be his first time. This just cannot. When this officer came in and I knew his background, he explained in extraordinary detail, but more military style that I could understand. I was like, this is actually for real, Miller said. This dude is so full of shit. This kid had been in combat a bunch and he knew. The CIA began its task force in December 2020, which in October, the Pentagon admitted that there are killer satellites hurting people. Not only just people, but they're also used to uh, destroy the weapons of the enemy's weapons, whether they're in a different country or not, and expanded its efforts under the new director, William Burns, who vowed during his confirmation hearings to review the evidence on the alleged attacks on CIA personnel overseas, which have long been publicly reported. The State Department named a senior official to lead the department's response to the Havana system attacks in March. The Defense Department's effort is thought to be among the most robust, potentially explaining why a defense official, rather than the intelligence community or the FBI, briefed lawmakers on the incident that at the ellipse, even though it took place on U.S. soil. Miller tapped Griffin Decker, a career civil servant from the U.S. Special Operations Command, to run the effort. Decker would track and verify reports in the military of what then they had become known informally as Havana Syndrome. Miller says Griffin would report a new case to him every couple of weeks. Should have been like every day, to be honest with you, although he cautioned that they were on the lookout for false reporting, psychomatic episodes, or hypochondria. Some of the cases they tracked included the children and the dependents of Defense Department personnel overseas, Miller said. Difficult to determine the cause of symptoms. Decker and Jennifer Walsh, who was the acting Secretary of Defense for Policy, briefed House and Senate lawmakers over the last 2 weeks on the possible attacks. Two sources familiar with the briefings told CNN Politico first reported on the committee briefing. In one incident that was investigated, Marines on a remote base in Syria developed flu-like symptoms shortly after a Russian helicopter flew over their base, raising immediate concerns that it could be one of these strange attacks. I don't know. Could be a flu-like symptoms. I mean, they could make you nauseous if they wanted to. Raising immediate concerns that it could be one of the strange attacks, but it was quickly traced where they had bad food and where no one else on the base had that same symptoms. But these symptoms are actually very severe. I mean, they can make you, microwave attacks can make you feel happy, they can make you feel sad, they can put pain in your body even though no one hit you, stab you, shot you, they could cause cancer, they could do all kinds of things. It's like messing with the things in your body. It's very, very evil. Where did I go? Bad food where no one else on the base had the same symptoms, said one former. These are very severe symptoms. The symptoms they're giving you right now are not, these are like children's symptoms. It was also determined by a defense physician that the symptoms had begun prior to the Russian patrol, a defense official told. If you really knew the symptoms of this shit, the whole world would freak out. This is what's hard. Alright, so let's go back. The Syrian episode highlights difficulties that U.S. officials face in trying to pin down what is and what isn't an attack, which I could agree on that. But there are actually scans that you could probably do that if the body's been damaged by electromagnetic waves. The symptoms often vary, and officials still have no clear sense of how the unknown adversary is doing and what it's doing. At least one former U.S. official with knowledge of the matter said that investigators still haven't completely ruled out the possibility that the symptoms are caused by some kind of natural occurring phenomenon rather than a weapon. Another U.S. defense official confirmed that the Pentagon investigation is ongoing. The officials would offer no details but said, "We will not still be looking at this if it didn't have equities in it." There is nothing that the Secretary of Defense takes more seriously than the safety, health, and welfare of personnel serving around the globe in defense of our values and freedoms. They do this to even military people. Military people do it, and then they attack their military brothers and sisters. Not even just military people who work inside the government in like every way of the government, whether even the state. If you work for the state, it don't matter. You get on the government's bad side, you get attacked by these things. Not everybody gets attacked with directed energy weapons. Some get the psychological abuse, the gang stalking. People don't know what that means. I know it's very hard. The names of these type of tactics is very hard to understand. It's just a whole bunch of psychological operations to make a person crazy, to make them feel that they're crazy. And, there's many tactics to this. But they don't care about the welfare of their people, and they don't have the same values of what America is: freedom, liberty, pursuit of happiness. They don't. These people are lying. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said in a statement, any concerns in the issue that call that in question are thoroughly reviewed, and the appropriate actions are taken to mitigate risk to our personnel. They do hero experiments on their own employees, on their own people, and their own citizens. You are just an animal to them. So do not take this seriously. A March report from the National Academy of Science found that the directed pulse radio frequency energy was the most likely cause of the strain's set of symptoms. While the report was carefully written not to overstate its findings, it has offered some of the clearest public evidence to date that the incidents could be attacks attributing to the reflection to pulse or directed energy. And I think that's like a single hit. Like a single strong, painful hit. Some personnel have been seriously injured from the alleged attacks, seriously injured, and all they gave you was flu-like symptoms and headaches. But they haven't really went deep into the science of what these things could do. Okay, with at least one career CIA officer forced to retire last year and diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. So yeah, people can have like, symptoms that are just, like not so serious, depending how much they use on them. But the hard hits will cause brain damage, body damage, cancer, hormonal problems, a lot of things. It's an invisible attack. If you're a Christian, you would think it's the devil, which I do believe the tactic of how they do things, only the devil can make this up and give some type of evilism to make someone who looks like have a physical, organic illness, and it's not. But this is it. You can read it on yourself. It's the April 29, 2021. And this is controlling the narrative, which is to believe that the government cares for their employees and they don't. They don't care for their employees. They don't care for the average Joe. Alright, I'm gonna go. 27 minutes.